into Benghazi. Anywhere from about 30 to 50 centimeters of rain is going to be a problem there. And we are going to be seeing that rain shower and winds pushing over towards the east, with Cairo looking at temperatures of about 20 degrees for them.
He's taken stolen goods and he's now dumping them onto the world without any sort of consideration for consequences.
From people making the news.
If the North will be saved a lot of trouble, I think it is important that they should come together.
To those it affects.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines.
Most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story. At this time on Al Jazeera.
See the world from every angle and every side. Al Jazeera.
You're watching Al Jazeera, a reminder of the top stories. We're getting reports that pro-Gaddafi forces have attacked protesters near the Libyan town of Misrata. Witnesses say clashes are continuing in the town, which is around 120 kilometers east of the capital, Tripoli. Meanwhile, the country's tribal leaders meet to discuss the evolving situation. Some of Libya's biggest tribes have turned against Gaddafi. US President Barack Obama says the US is looking at a full range of options on how to deal with the crisis. He's repeated his message to Gaddafi that the violence must stop. Well, turning to other news now, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has arrived at court in London to hear if he'll be extradited to Sweden to face sex crimes allegations. Swedish prosecutors want to question Assange about accusations of sexual abuse from two women relating to a brief visit there last summer. Assange has denied any wrongdoing and has not been charged.
I think it was unfair, really, that the Swedish prosecutor, having besmirched his name, having made these allegations, didn't come and defend her position publicly and put herself through a cross-examination. And I think that's probably because she can't give a proper account of what she's got to do.
Tim Friend joins us live from the court in London. Tim, it's the context to this story which is all too intriguing for people, isn't it?
Well, it is, because the suggestion has always been in the background that this whole Swedish case was politically motivated. That's certainly the way Julian Assange and his supporters see it. And whether or not there's some sort of deeper conspiracy, if you like, that has prompted this charge against him, which of course he denies. Certainly while he's been having to deal with this court case, although he's been on bail, it's interrupted to some extent the work he's been doing with WikiLeaks. And although he isn't a one-man band, he's very much a leader of that organisation, and he does delegate, but I'm told that he likes to really organise things himself. So if the effect was, if you believe those conspiracy theorists, to disrupt the work of WikiLeaks, which of course many people don't like around the world, including the United States government, then to some extent it's been successful.
Tim, thank you very much for that update live from outside the court in London. We will no doubt hear more from you later on. Now, police say 98 people are now known to have died in a powerful earthquake in New Zealand. Rescue teams are looking for as many as 300 people who are still missing. Water, electricity and sewage have been severed in parts of the city, and fuel is running short. Well, with more on the rescue efforts, Tanya Page has the latest from Christchurch.
The death toll is expected to climb much higher, with police having grave concerns for up to 226 people. The coroner has said that they are having some difficulty identifying the people that they are pulling out of the rubble because of the level and severity of the injuries they've sustained. So they're encouraging people who've reported their loved ones and friends missing to give them a little information about what clothing they may have been wearing, tattoos, jewellery, birthmarks, that type of thing. They have only released the names of 4 of those killed, including 2 babies, one as young as 5 months old. Now, a massive international search and rescue operation is underway, despite the fact that it was on Wednesday that the last person pulled alive from the rubble was recovered. They are still hopeful that they will find more people alive. There are rescue teams from 6 different countries here working around the clock, really, although the worst affected area is under lockdown 24 hours a day. That's largely because they're using sonic equipment to search for people who may still be trapped in the rubble, and they need that area, because it is still also very dangerous, to be as quiet as possible.
Well, back to our top story now. The uprising in Libya. Muammar Gaddafi is expected to make a statement at any time, and we'll be bringing that to you live. Now, the UN's Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has expressed grave concern over events in Libya. He condemned attacks against civilians and said those responsible must be punished. Kath Turner is in New York.
The violence in Libya continues, and Colonel Gaddafi is still clinging to power, and the world is looking to the United Nations for action.
The Security Council, as you know, is meeting today to assess the situation and determine whether there are steps the international community can and should take.
Would I like us to go further and have a full United Nations Security Council resolution? Yes, I would.
But at UN headquarters in New York on Wednesday...
Mr. Ambassador, any discussion about Libya today at all?
Sanctions? I haven't heard about that.
Morning, Mr. Ambassador. Any talk about sanctions on Libya today at all? Anytime soon?
The UN Secretary-General cut short a domestic trip and returned to New York for talks with his senior advisers on Libya. But when he emerged to talk to the media, Ban Ki-moon did not stray from his previous statements.
So there are calls in the international community, Mr. Secretary-General, for no-fly zones, for sanctions, and yet after 3 hours of negotiation, the Security Council came out with a statement, not even a presidential statement. Are you satisfied with that?
The situation is developing rapidly toward a very dangerous situation. Therefore, we need to very carefully monitor the situation. I will continue to urge in the strongest possible terms for us to stop violence, protect the human rights and the civilian population.
International frustration is growing over the United Nations' apparent lack of action.
Well, you have to get the political consensus first. That produces some words, and then from those words, hopefully, you get some real action.
The Security Council remained mute during the uprisings in Tunisia and Egypt. The governments collapsed with relatively little violence. The use of mercenaries and aerial attacks on unarmed Libyans has alarmed the international community, and yet the response from the Security Council may be similarly weak.
Understandably, a few members of the Council are quite cautious about invoking sanctions. Sometimes you don't know exactly who's going to be hurt and whether they're going to make a difference or not.
Several observers